Today I have a very special guest on the Choose to Think podcast, and his name is Grace. He's currently, we're chatting, he's in Uganda, and I'm here, of course, in the United States, and he has so graciously agreed to appear on the podcast. And I know actually very little about Grace, so I'm so excited to ask some questions and just maybe get started from the very beginning. So Grace, thank you so much for agreeing to appear on the Choose to Think podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Victoria, for having me. And I greet you all our listeners, and I bless you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, Grace and I met actually on Instagram, and I think I'm telling it correctly. And we just got to unpack everything here. So Grace, if you could first of all, before we go into your ministry and some of the projects that your Grassroots Ministry is currently charging up, could you tell us just a little bit about you? Are you native-born Ugandan?
Thank you, Victoria. Yes, I am Ugandan by birth, and I was raised and born in Uganda. I've never traveled outside Africa. Although I've traveled in East Africa, where I come from, Kenya. I've traveled to Kenya, Tanzania. So basically, I'm a Ugandan and, native Ugandan.
Can you tell us about your childhood, Grace? Is your family Christian?
I was born and raised by a single mom, helped by her grandmother. My grandmother, to her, it's the mother. And I didn't know much my father. So to her, she's a Christian, but I heard my father wasn't a Christian because in Africa or in Uganda in particular, we have what we call kingdoms, our traditions or the culture where we come from. And different culture, we have what the traditional faith that our great ancestors used to practice that religion by them. And on the side of my father, they are still practicing that same religion because they believe so much in the kingdom, which is Buganda, where I come from, where I identify as a Muganda in Uganda. So, and because of Christianity, when it came into our family, you find that it brought about disagreements and separation. So we have cousins, brothers, where we don't connect and we don't talk because certain families decided to follow Jesus Christ, and certain families started to follow the traditional way of doing things and religions of the ethnic group where we come from. And this, I remember growing up, we used to go to the village, and going to the village because we are Christians. There are certain activities, norms, and traditions, things that they do when you arrive in the village. So they could make you drink certain things. They could make you spell blood around your face and everything. So, and I remember my mother used to tell me, don't go there, stay this side. So, and in doing that, she didn't know that she was sowing a seed of hatred between families or between brotherhood and sisterhood in our family, because from then we started facing persecution from our family members, and that due to that history, we are faced to go to another region. I don't know if you know Uganda well, but we had to travel and live where we used to stay by then. By then, we used to stay in Kampala with my father by then. So they separated ways, and my mother had to go to another region. If I may say in the States, they could say to another state. Here, she had to travel to another district, which is called Mukono. So reaching there, we had to start a new old life. I had to stay and to be raised by these two strong women who knew Christ by then. But as a child, I cannot say that I knew Christ by then. But what I remember that my mother used to pray a lot, and my grandmother. They used to pray and pray and pray and pray. And as we were growing up, and my mother remarried by then, and the sad thing, because by then I couldn't stay with my mother. I stayed with my grandfather, with my grandmother, and my mother, she happened to get another husband, so who was not my father. So I used to call him uncle, and in that process, I couldn't experience her love. So the only love I experienced by then, it was of the grandmother. That's the woman who stood with me in all those times. Because in Africa, we have a tendency that if your mother goes into a second marriage, she can't carry the kids from the previous marriage. So she had to she had to leave me behind with a grandmother. So that's how my background was. But to cut the long story short, it was the year of 2013. That's when then the husband of my mother, okay, I may say my uncle or stepdad, died because of a heart disease. He was a good guy, but in our tradition, I couldn't stay to their home because they had to have other. They had 3 kids, which I 3 children, whom I may say they are my cousin, my siblings now, because I relate so much with them than the side of my father where because my father also had to go into those things of in our tradition, a man can marry any number of women he feels like. So he went ahead and married other 3 women, and they had kids. So it's rare that, and it's very difficult for me to connect with that side. So I focused much on my mother and these 3 cousins of mine, that because we share certain things in common, we share the love of these 2 women, because up to now, these are the women we have stood with, the grandmother and my mom. So the loss of the loss of the husband, she had also to come back to the house because where I was staying, because they couldn't afford the housing where they used to stay, because the husband has gone. The husband had a complication. He had a heart disease. He had a hole in the heart. So she had to shift and come back to the village where I was staying. So through growing up, through seeing that life as a young man in the house, because there were very many women, I was staying with 4 women, and we're only 2 boys in the house. So I had to become a man at a very tender age. That I had in Africa, we don't use electricity, we don't use gas. So I had to go and get firewood. I had to look for firewood. I had to go to forests and, to make ends meet, so that we can have what someone can say, so to cook something at home. But doing all that, and these women, what I remember, they used to pray. I didn't know much, because for me, I was focused. I was asking a lot of questions. Why is it that I was asking? I remember at one point I said, why was I born alone? Because I used to miss sisters and what. So when these 3 children came, which my mother had got from the second marriage, they became brothers and sisters to me. I connected much with them. And from that day when they came, I said, Father, I think these are the brothers I've been asking for. I think these are the sisters I've been asking for. And as at that age, I reflected. I said, maybe my prayers have been answered, but I still needed, because I was still asking more and more, because the situation we are in then was worse, and we needed a change. So I used to go fetch the firewood in the morning before you go to school. I could go to the well, get water. You could walk 2 kilometers getting water, because I'm a man now in the house. I have to make sure that these things are in place before I go to school. So going through all that process, I had to make sure that the basic needs that we needed at home were provided, like firewood and water, so that when I come back in the evening, I could find maybe something like to eat, food, or anything like porridge. In 2014, this is the year when I was introduced to Jesus Christ, because all along I could see as a kid, they can tell you about Christ, they can tell you about how God is beautiful, how God has done wonders. But if you look at the reality, if you look at the situation you are in, there are so many things that go through your mind. You start questioning the stream being there telling you about how God is love, how God is beautiful. As a child, I used to question this. I used to question each and everything that they used to tell me. That if God really loved us, why are we living this way? Why are we lacking? And looking at all the things in our community, the society where I come from. Not that we are well off in the society, but we are the same where I come from. So we could go for miles, we could walk miles and miles, and then we ask, but if God really existed, our community could be like other communities. We could be like on the same level. We couldn't suffer. We could be enjoying life like other kids. So I would say I didn't accept Jesus Christ when I was a kid until 2014. That's when I accepted Christ, and this is when I was at my university. You may ask, how did I get to the university? But during the times when I used to go to school, I used to go to government schools and even church schools. I went to a Bishop Senior School, Mukono. That was an Anglican secondary school, and I was on the sponsorship. I was given a scholarship by the church, which was at the parish level, to go and advance on my academics there. So after that, and then we started asking ourselves, how are we going to pay for the university? So in the year 2014, I applied in 2013. So the academic year 2014, that's when I started at my career. Bad enough, I didn't get a scholarship then to advance at the university level, but the works, the commitment, the persistence, because I had a dream to go to the best university in Africa, to the best university in East Africa, the university which has made history. So all along, I used to say that, Father, I have to go to that university. But when we used to sit in the meeting before even applying, my grandmother could say, you know what, Grace, we don't have money, we don't have things. I think the best way to do things, you could maybe go to a vocational school. I think that's why we can afford, and you learn electronics. You can maybe learn how to be a mechanic, and, So, but she could be telling me this. We could be seated around the fire in the evening, and I could ask myself. I could not tell her, but I could ask myself within me, and I ask, but Father, I have a dream. Yes, I know this is the reality. We don't have money. I can't go to the university, but this is what she's telling me. This is what my grandmother, she's telling me, that maybe you have to do this. Maybe you have try out something like this. And I say, in my heart, I said, no. I didn't listen to her. And that's the truth. I didn't listen to her. I was listening to the inner voice within me that I will make it to the university. I will have to make it because I have to change the history. The funny thing, they have never, by that time, they had never received any degree in their family because they are on the generation curse. I heard that in the spiritual things which they are praising and everything, and they were punishing them for 25 years. 25 years. And surprisingly, in those 25 years, this is how they came to get me. So I had something I had a dream. I said, this has to start with me. I have to get this degree. Even if I don't connect with my family, the other side, even if I don't connect with anyone, but I have to make a difference in this family. It has to start with me. It has to be me. So, and I didn't tell my grandmother when I was going to apply. After telling me all that, I said, fine. I went to Kampala. I remember I told her I have to go to Kampala. I need to start working. I went to Kampala. I didn't know anyone in Kampala, but I used to sleep on streets. I used to, because in the morning I could go. I remember I went to a certain building. It's called City House. It's in the middle of the town. I went there. I met young men, young boys doing receipt books. They could compile papers, make those receipts and everything. So I told one of the boy, I'm new in town, but I would love to know. I would like you to teach me how you do those receipts, because I need something to eat. I need to keep myself busy. I don't want to engage into any funny activities around. Good enough, the boy accepted. He taught me how to make those receipt books. And in doing those receipt books, yes, we did. By then, there are so many illegal things happening in town. Young people were doing drugs. We are doing so many things. But I thank God that I was focused. I thank God that I kept that dream, because I remember even that day when I started learning how to make a receipt book, there was a certain gentleman on the balcony where we used to stand, because we couldn't afford the room. So we used to line up on the balcony of the flat, and that's where we used to have a small table and make the receipt books. And then we go to the supermarkets, we sell those receipt books there. So I remember a certain gentleman told me on the second day of my arrival there that, young man, you have come here. I heard you have dreams of going to Makerere University, but I want to tell you this, that even these people who are teaching you how to make a receipt book, they have never gone to a university. Do you know? I asked him why. He told me they also had dreams like you. They came talking much about academics and everything, but when they started drowning themselves in the business sector, the business world, their dreams were shut down. So I'm telling you, you're not going to go to the university. Focus here, learn how to make a receipt book, start looking for clients, go to different places, market yourself, and learn how to. In my head, I was like, this is not the life I want to live. This is not the life I want my kids. This is not the life I want my family to be in. And I didn't say that much to him, but I remember I told the gentleman that I know where I come from and I know where I'm going. This is not where my journey is ending. I've come here to. It's like I told him, I've come here to pay off some time, that I organize myself and be somewhere in the next few years and years and years. So I thank God that gentleman, before he died, he lived to see that I went to the university and I finished. And when the same year, 2014, like I said, it's like when after talking to that gentleman, things went on well. 6 months, I started making some good money. It's the same money I used to go to the university to apply. I applied. So in the newspaper, my grandmother, when they announced, in Uganda, when the university announces people who have been admitted to the university, they publish in the newspapers. So when my grandmother, some people in town saw my name in the newspaper, so they had to send a newspaper to my grandmother, and they told her, "We see your grandson in the paper. He's going to the university." So I remember my grandmother sent someone to town to call me back home. And I went. I remember it was a Friday. I said to my colleagues, you know what? This weekend I'm not going to be around. I have to go back to the village. They are calling me. So I knew why they were calling me. They are calling me about the university thing. So I went back home. My grandmother asked me. She didn't quarrel. She didn't say much. She was like, I've seen you are really committed to go to the university. And she asked me a question. Are you ready? Are you willing to contribute to your academics? That was the question she asked me. So in my heart, I was like, yes. Because I used to call her, yes, mother, I'm ready. I'm ready. And I feel I will make it. I know I will make it. She was like, fine. Because for her, she's a prayerful woman. She said, God has seen us through so many things. And I know even is going to see us through this. So if you are ready and you are really committed, I would like you to contribute half of your tuition. I don't know how you're going to make it, but I heard you have started working in town. So I'll look for the half of the tuition and you look for the second half of the tuition. In my heart, I was like, thank you, Jesus. This is a good start. So she tested me. She said, so how much do you have at hand? Because the next month you'll be starting at the university. Good thing I had made some savings when I started. I was on the streets. I needed something bigger than me in life. Something that really, something I can hold on. And in the same year, many things happened in that year. And in that same year, I said, Jesus, I welcome you, and I want you to be my way. And that's the year I read Jeremiah 29:11, where he says, I know the plans that I have for you, plans to bring you hope, plans to give you a future. And I'm like, God, if you know me, Grace, if you knew me, that I think you are taking me somewhere bigger. So in my university, I used to quote it as scripture. Jeremiah 29:11. I could walk. You know the plans. You have the plans to give me hope, plans to prosper. I could ask God, Father, you know me. You are the best planner. Plan for me at the university. So through that university, I didn't know that because I started speaking good news to people, to students in the lecture rooms, and I didn't know that I was preaching by then. I didn't know that I was telling them something that contributed or something that really transformed so many young people at the university. I didn't know what I was doing. Me, I could just sit down with a friend, like after the discussion, I could tell them, you know what? I don't have much, but I have what they call Jesus. So I started doing that at the university. I started opening up people because, trust me, the day I accepted Christ, because I accepted him when I'm at the university, the day I accepted Christ, things changed. I started seeing Jesus working. This stress, this depression, this lacking mentality, this thing that things are not going to work out, started changing. That's the time when I knew that all along, all my childhood, I had someone watching over me. I had someone providing. You know, there are so many things that come our way, things that have tested us, but they make us bigger. The storm that I went through in my childhood prepared me for the life that I lived on street, prepared me because even the street life that I lived also prepared me. It prepared me for the university life, that I could stand among students in the lecture room and I tell them good news about Christ. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that in my primary. I couldn't do that in my secondary. But the challenges that I went through, I thank God. Even now, up to now, I thank God that I went through what I went through, because I couldn't be who I am today, or even I couldn't have faced Like, I couldn't have accomplished the little things I've accomplished in my life because they're really big in our family. To other families, they couldn't. But in my family, where I am, even if the other people have not yet opened up to Christ, they praise me. If they don't hear, or even if they hear, because I've been published in the papers, I've been published about projects that I've done in the newspapers. Whenever they see Grace Julius Ssembatya in the newspaper, they are proud. And I couldn't do that without Christ. You know, there's a way how God takes us through situations. All my life all my life, the stages, the events that happened through the work, through the things that I did, it was God. It was God trying to test me. And that also opened me up to Job. In the scripture, if you read the scriptures, how Job's life was. I may say, me going through that lacking, me going through those walking long distance to school, me living on the street, me doing what, it shows you that he has made you a soldier. Sometimes I call myself a soldier, like I fight for God, I fight for the word, but not physically, but spiritually, because there is no situation, there is nothing like storm right now I've seen the worst. I always tell people, what worst thing can always happen to you? Apart from lacking, this basic needs will always be there. But the moment you know how to survive, and the only way to survive is through God. And that was the message I was telling students. Yes, true, I used to lack tuition at the university. But mercifully, gracefully, I didn't know how things would work out. My grandmother could get a half. These students could even contribute. The students I used to talk to, you find a student, we used to study with older people, people who have aged who are older than us, and they know your story and they contribute a half, and you're like, wow, God, it's you. And I remember in my final semester, I had failed to raise my half. It was a lecturer. I didn't even say much. I just went to him. I told him, sir, you know what? I have a problem. I have this amount of money lacking on my tuition, and I was hoping if you could help me and maybe give me a loan. Even I, up to now, I tell people it was God who talked to that gentleman. He just held my hand and told me, Grace, let's go to the bank. He withdrew the money he had there and said, add on your tuition, go so that you sit your final exams. Sometimes there are those small things which happen in our lives and we don't know and we don't acknowledge them. But I might say my life has been full of miracles, and my life is a testimony in general. Because me, I can't underlook those small things. At that moment, at that particular hour, when I walked towards that lecturer, we used not to talk much, but just speaking to him, three to four words that I don't have this, and he said yes. In my heart, I was like, it's Jesus. It's not me. Who am I to be given that money? So my life and finishing the university, it was also a miracle. It was outstanding in our family. And up to now, they're still talking about that degree in our family. So from there, that's when the Grassroots Ministry started. That's how I can say my life is full of grassroots, because we are working and we are dealing with the grassroots people. Even my work, I said that we used to do illegal things, papers. We're not for big people, young people who wanted to get opportunities in government work. But we didn't know how to help. But the only way to help, that's how we knew how to help. It's like a friend of mine used to say that he could go and steal and provide for families. But in that particular moment, that's how we could help out a friend. So all my life, it has been a grassroots movement. So that's how we come out with a grassroots ministry, that for us, we don't we go into communities, we go into households, we go into families and talk the good news there. And we don't only stop at talking the good news, but we give. We show God His love by giving the word and giving out on families that like basic needs, because we don't have like a church now. Our church, it's in the homes where we go to. It's in those people, those children on the streets that we go and preach. We don't just take the gospel there, but we take with us something to eat, something they can wear, something that they can put on. And we say, God has blessed you with this shirt. God has blessed you with this meal. That's how Grassroots Ministry came about. And that's, in brief, in summary, I may say that that's my story, and that's how my story leads to the ministry that I'm doing right now, to where I am. I know I've not yet reached where I'm supposed to be. I'll tell much about the ministry, but I was still sharing about my life, how my life and how I come about the ministry.
Thank you for sharing, Grace Julius, this remarkable story. And I appreciate your testimony. You're sharing your testimony. I had a few questions along the way, but I did not want to interrupt you as you were describing things and sharing with us. If you could bridge the gap, I may have missed this, between your graduation and starting or launching Grassroots Ministry. Was that something you did by yourself, or were there other people involved in that? How did you get from after graduation to Grassroots Ministry?
2015, 2016, that's when Grassroots started. By then, it was not registered, and we were just doing things as Grassroots, like you could say. I could say, Victoria, are you free over the weekend? They could say, yes. Jimmy, are you free over the weekend? So I could get my classmates in the lecture room, and I tell them that over this weekend, can we go to a certain community somewhere? Can we go and fellowship with a certain home? And we give them good news. Because in Uganda, there are those grassroots, there are those communities at the grassroots that are, I've never I've never visited town. They don't know how town looks like. They don't know how, they have never stepped out of their district. They are over, even village, they are always there. So for us, we say, like in that group, like on Friday, I could organize and tell them, this time around, let's go to that village. Let's go bless these people. Let's go to them. Let's take town and Jesus to them. So that's how it started. It started in 2015, 16, but not officially registered. There we are just doing works voluntarily with people I share the same vision with. We go over the weekend, we bless the family. We could do so many things over that weekend. And in doing so, I remember the first time we did that with a certain group of friends. They really loved it. Some friends of mine have never seen such home, someone lacking, someone without shoes, someone without. And here at the university, people could throw away clothes, people could throw away things. So in that process, so many young people felt, they're like, I was opening up. For them, they were really making a tour, but me, I was really reaching out. I was taking good news to people who needed it. And in that process, we blessed so many families, and that's how Grassroots started. And after the university in 2017, when I graduated, I just relocated. I moved out from town. I went to Mukono, back to my village, and I said, I need to transform this home area. I need to do something. Uh, if you can even Google, Mukono is Mukono District, where we can which is my village, has so many things to do with witchcraft, traditional way of doing things. So we are at war. We really want to transform these families. There's a lot of witchcraft in this home district, and I think it was God who gave us this purpose, who gave us this mantle to go into that district. And that's how it started. And that's how work started. So after the university, I didn't go into the work world like to look for work. No. I just went into ministry, into ministry, and that's where we have been. And that's where we're still blessed and blessing other people.
So, Grace Julius, can you tell me about the UnWoke magazine?
The UnWoke magazine is a Christian inspirational magazine. Online, it has just started during COVID. But by then, we used to do inspirational things on the community level. We could we could introduce, like we could go in schools and write scriptures to remind people, to inspire students, to inspire people at the community level. We could write simple verses. We could encourage students to write their stories, to inspire other students. And in this way, we could combine so many things. We could combine the Word of God and even the way of life, because we could combine even the drugs. In our schools, young people are using drugs. So we could also use the Word to go and preach the good news so that young people can leave those things of using drugs, live a sober life, to be citizens with a purpose, to transform their community, that drugs are harmful. So we wanted to attach value. We wanted to do things that transform communities and develop them, but at the same time developing them in the earthly perspective and in the godly perspective. So we are doing two things at a go. So UnWoke magazine, by then it was inspire, as young people, we may say, I'm a born again today. I can say, I welcome Christ into my life. And tomorrow you can sort of backslide. Other than falling forward, most of the young people in Uganda, they just backslide and they forget about Christ. So the reason why UnWoke magazine had to come in place was to inspire and to encourage those fallen soldiers of Christ, those foreign people who lack hope, who need that hope, who need the daily reminder that they are not alone. Sometimes being alone, being lonely, there's a way how it contributes in our contribution towards community or society. So UnWoke magazine reminds people, it reminds communities. So during this COVID, many people, COVID in Africa, it has really changed the way we do things. At first, we didn't know much about the internet, but COVID has let us embrace the technology, the innovations and everything. So that's during COVID, we started to go online. And we are like, wow, so many young people now rushing online and what. So we decided to launch the online magazine of UnWoke magazine to target the university students, to target the people in the community. Basically, everyone whose soul is falling. We are just like a reminder. We are looking for those ones who are sick. Like the way Jesus said in the scriptures, I've come for those who are sick. I've not come for the righteous. So like, we're not looking for those ones who are ready or okay. This magazine is meant for those ones who think they can't handle life alone. They need someone. So it was started just to do that purpose, to help people to go through situations that they are fighting, situations that they have, challenges they are battling with. And if you go through our articles in the magazine, you'll find out that people share their experience, people share their story. You can find that you are not alone in that situation. So it's like a reminder to give you hope, to give you courage, so that you can live and see tomorrow and also bless other people. We believe that stories can transform. Storytelling is one of a powerful weapon that we can use to win souls for the heavenly kingdom and also transform people's lives here on earth and do better for our communities and for our planet Earth.
For folks who would like to subscribe to the UnWoke magazine or get in touch with you somehow to find out about some of your projects with Grassroots Ministry, where can they contact you?
UnWokeMagazine.org. That's where all information is. Even under the UnWoke magazine, that's where you'll find the ministry page. And if you want to get involved, people who want to even come to Uganda to do ministry, you can send us a mail there through the unwalkmagazine.org. You can write to the editor, you can write to the ministry directly, or you can check out our Facebook pages, our social media platforms, and send in people who want to get involved, people who want to pray, people who want to create a community worldwide. UnWoke and Grassroots Ministry is welcoming them. Through that website, you can access all the information you need. Or drop us an email at grassrootsministry@gmail.com or unwalkmagazine@gmail.com.
Was that a little goat I heard in the background?
Yes, I'm in the village.
Yeah, that's so cool. I've been listening to some of the sounds and I thought, I know that doesn't sound like a baby, but it sounds like a little goat.
It was a goat. We have some goats around. We're also doing farming.
That is so awesome. I still have a lot of questions, but our time is short. And I just so appreciate having you share a little bit about your story. And you're right, storytelling and sharing our testimony is exactly how we overcome in this life. And well, it's one of the keys anyway. And I really appreciate you. You've just opened the window a little bit in my mind, and I'm sure in my listeners' minds about what it's like to grow up in Uganda, to be there, the challenges that you have faced, how you've overcome so much is such an inspiration in and of itself. I love your grandmother. Is she still living?
Yes, she is. I will share with you some pictures of hers with you. When she's dressed well, you'll see her. She's still living. I'm surprised
I
she's
would
so
love
healthy,
that.
very healthy. She's a healthy woman because she works out. Okay, her job, what she does, she works on this is it called a sewing machine? Yeah, she learned that in early 90s, and she has been one of the people contributing to their community, making clothes and dresses for fellow women, and she loves empowering other women. So I've learned much from her. She's a prayerful woman, and she's still living. She's still there.
Wonderful. What a blessing. And I have a feeling that I need to have you on the podcast again, maybe in a year or so, and we'll just see how far things have advanced and what's going on with you there. But you've really opened the window in our minds to just a different experience. And I've kind of got to step back and rethink some of my thoughts, look at all my notes, because you've given me so much information. I feel like it's just been a fire hose coming on me a little bit, and I have so many questions. But and that's my Rico. You have goats, I have Rico. Here he is. This is Rico the Morkie barking, my little puppy.
Oh.
Well, he's not a puppy, but yeah, anyway. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you. I can't wait to promote this episode and just to share with the world, everyone on social media and all these outlets, exactly who you are, your story, your ministry. I love that we're going to chat about your grandmother too and share some about her. So thank you so much, Grace Julius, for appearing on the show.
Thank you, Victoria, for having me. And I really want to thank God who has made this happen. I couldn't do much. Maybe like you said that you would like to host me another time. I think that's when I will share much in detail about the ministry, because I've not gone into that and because we are out of time. But I really bless the Lord that He has made us this happen, because sometimes the internet isn't good, but the way I see things, I think it is really, really good today. And I thank God and I bless His name for that. And I really thank you, Victoria, for coming up with this initiative. It's really, really amazing, reaching out and really, it has really empowered. And I thank God who connected me with you. And I thank the listeners who have really given time also to listen to your podcast. It's really amazing how God can connect worlds and really change lives around the world.
And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. My goodness, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. And say, if you'd like to get in touch with Grace Julius, come on over to the Fired Up Mind and Choose to Think podcast community on Facebook. He's right there. And I'm sure he would love to chat with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm going to make sure to drop all the links about Grace Julius, his ministry, in the show notes. And I appreciate your being here so much. God bless you. Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Ciao.